every day is a chance to make someone smile.
The beauty of youth may fade, but my power will endure forever. Go on, have a bite.
What started as a magical revival of a Disney classic has now spiraled into the kind of Hollywood chaos you usually only see in tabloids. A box office flop, a feud between stars, legal threats, and a studio scrambling to contain the fallout. Welcome to the real story behind Disney's live-action Snow White, a fairy tale that went from red carpet dreams to legal warfare behind closed doors. According to multiple insiders, Gal Gadot quietly assembled a legal team to address what she saw as growing tension and potentially defamatory behavior from her co-star, Rachel Zegler. Zegler, reportedly frustrated by how the film had been received and how she was being portrayed, was allegedly preparing to tell her side of the story to the press. She wanted to share what it was really like filming Snow White. And Gadot's name was reportedly central to that narrative. But before she could speak publicly, Gadot's lawyers issued 3 separate legal warnings, making it crystal clear. Any public accusations or interviews targeting Gadot would be met with swift and serious legal consequences. And just like that, Zegler's public schedule began to disappear. Canceled interviews, scrapped podcast appearances, a pulled segment from The Drew Barrymore Show. Even a rumored sit-down titled Rachel's Side of the Story was abruptly shut down. Insiders say this was no coincidence. The goal of Gadot's legal strategy was simple: shut it down before it starts. And for the time being, it worked. Zegler, once outspoken in interviews and social media, went silent. Not because she had changed her mind, but because, according to sources, she was intimidated by the potential consequences. From the outside, Disney marketed these 2 women as the perfect pairing. Gadot, the global icon and box office powerhouse. Zegler, the bold new face of Disney's next generation of princesses. But behind the carefully choreographed press photos was a working relationship riddled with tension. The problem started early. Zegler pushed for a complete reimagining of Snow White, one that rejected traditional princess roles and leaned into modern political themes. Gadot reportedly objected, preferring a nuanced update that still respected the original story. That creative divide festered into personal conflict. And then came the politics. Zegler is known for being outspoken on social media, aligning herself with progressive causes and often speaking her mind. Gadot, a former Israeli Defense Forces soldier and vocal supporter of Israel, represented a stark contrast. According to production sources, that ideological divide was impossible to ignore on set. Conversations turned strained, jokes stopped landing, comments became personal. Once the film was complete, Disney rolled out the marketing machine. But something felt off. Audiences noticed it first. The stiff body language, the forced chemistry, the awkward glances at premieres and interviews. At the Oscars, the 2 women stood next to each other, yet seemed miles apart. Disney executives allegedly hoped it would all pass. They downplayed the rumors as typical creative friction. But then came the film's disappointing box office numbers, and the finger-pointing began. Both stars reportedly blamed the other behind the scenes. Zegler for being too political, Gadot for being out of touch. And suddenly, Disney found itself caught in the middle of a feud it could no longer hide. According to sources, Zegler had a plan. She wanted to reframe the narrative and salvage her reputation. Her team began reaching out to media outlets known for sympathetic coverage. The message was clear. Rachel would speak, on her terms. Stories of toxic behavior, creative suppression, and being misunderstood were allegedly set to drop. But before she could launch her redemption arc, Gadot's legal team acted. The warnings were firm and, more importantly, credible. Within days, Zegler's tell-all campaign vanished. No articles, no interviews, just silence. Her team reportedly panicked. They had underestimated Gadot's legal firepower and suddenly found themselves without a plan B. The once outspoken Zegler had been effectively silenced, not by PR coaching, but by looming litigation. Back at Disney headquarters in Burbank, the panic was spreading. The press tour was unraveling. The film had flopped. And now, the studio's 2 stars were locked in a legal standoff. One of Disney's proposed fixes? A lighthearted behind-the-scenes commentary track for the Disney Plus release, featuring Gadot, Zegler, and co-star Andrew Burnap, reminiscing about the film with charm and nostalgia. But once the legal drama reached a boiling point, the plan was quietly scrapped. Neither actress would agree to sit down together, and there was simply no script that could patch over what had happened. Executives began canceling additional promotional features. Blooper reels, cast interviews, spotlight features, all either shortened or erased completely. Internal memos reportedly circulated with one clear directive: minimize the damage and move on. One executive was quoted saying, "The less we show of the cast together, the better." In Hollywood, silence speaks volumes. And Zegler's sudden disappearance from the press circuit didn't go unnoticed. Within the industry, agents and executives began to whisper. Rachel, once considered a rising star, was now being described as a PR liability. Some felt she had been unfairly targeted. Others said she mishandled the pressure, alienated colleagues, and then tried to rewrite the story when things turned sour. Gadot, on the other hand, kept her distance. No interviews, no reactive tweets, just quiet, calculated appearances at high-profile events, staying on message and above the noise. Industry insiders called her approach measured, elegant, and professionally surgical. She wasn't looking to escalate the drama, only to end it. One source close to a major agency put it bluntly: "You can survive a flop. What you can't survive is making enemies out of everyone on your way down." The consequences of the feud are still rippling through Disney. Promotional materials were re-edited. Press events were downsized. And digital exclusives, like the Women of Snow White spotlight, were shelved indefinitely. What was supposed to be Disney's big nostalgia revival became a cleanup operation. This wasn't just about bad publicity. It was about brand damage. And for a company as image-conscious as Disney, that's the ultimate nightmare. Even the internal mood reportedly shifted. Some executives began openly questioning whether the studio's emphasis on star power over creative synergy was backfiring. Others saw it as a cautionary tale about mixing politics with family-friendly fantasy. When Disney greenlit Snow White, it envisioned a magical reboot led by two powerhouse women who could carry the brand into a new era. What it got instead was a legal chess match, a divided fan base, and an example of how even a billion-dollar brand can get blindsided by off-screen drama. In an industry built on illusion, even fairy tales can turn into lawsuits. Zegler's silence continues. Gadot moves forward. And Disney? They're left holding the ashes of a project that should have been a surefire win. But perhaps the biggest takeaway is this. In today's Hollywood, your biggest threat isn't the critics. It's your own co-stars, your tweets, and the truth you thought you could control. Because when the cameras stop rolling, that's when the real show begins.